Assalamu alaikum and hello. From the studios of Karachi, this is Mehwish Ashraf, your host with the program Campus. And since today is the very first program of this new year, I wish all of you a very happy and prosperous new year. And I hope that this year brings for you every happiness and help you achieve all your goals. Listeners, this new year has brought so much with it, including this lovely cold weather. So how are you all spending these extremely cold days? Are you taking care of yourselves or you are just busy enjoying the season? Listeners, with the hope that you all must be perfect and must be enjoying life to the fullest, we will move on to the very first segment of today's program, which is Chit Chat, in which we have invited a very special guest for you, Sabina Rizwan. So let's have an interesting chit chat with her. A segment in which we invite those people with whom our chit-chat may turn out to be useful. We invite those people who can share with us their interests, achievements, and different experiences of life that can be proved advantageous for our listeners. Whether those achievements and experiences are in the field of study, in social work, or in extracurricular activities. Our today's guest is a student of University of Karachi. She has completed her master's in mass communication and currently busy in doing her second master's in international relations. She is also a social worker and has played a vital role as a youth trainer. She is Sabina Rizwan from University of Karachi. Assalamu alaikum, Sabina.
Walaikum assalam.
How are you doing today?
Alhamdulillah, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm doing good too. First of all, thank you very much for coming here today, taking out some time for us.
It's a pleasure to be here always. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Well, Sabina, first of all, I would like to know from you that what are you busy with these days?
That's a tough question because I am busy in doing a bunch of stuff. As you just mentioned, I'm busy currently in my second master's in international relations, and soon I'll be giving my exams. So I'm pretty busy in preparing that. Besides that, since I'm a certified trainer, so I conduct different trainings and workshops for the youth whenever I'm invited by any organization. Besides that, I'm also a freelance writer, so I do write for different newspapers and magazines, and I work as an environmentalist for the issues of climate change. So yeah, that's pretty much a lot going on.
Yes, definitely. Well, we'll first of all start from your education.
Sure.
What made you go for international relations after mass communication?
I was always into writing, and that was the reason that I joined mass communication. While I was pursuing my mass comm, international relations was another subsidiary for me. 2 years in that subject, it really inspired me, and it was something that I felt that I can pursue further. And I'm kind of a person who's actually interested in what goes on global level and how things, happen in the world. So keeping that in mind, I took a break after my first master's, and I was thinking maybe I would go either for an MPhil in mass comm. But then I decided, no, I think I should go ahead and explore more about international relations. So yeah, that's why I'm in.
How is this experience? You enjoying studying?
Basically, I'm doing it privately. So I'm not a current student right now at University of Karachi. It's an amazing experience because it's something different that I haven't studied. So I'm kind of a person who likes to do different things. So it's something pretty challenging and worth studying, no doubt.
The reason for doing it privately, you might have been a part of university before.
Yeah.
And now you're doing this master's privately. So any specific reason for that?
Probably because I'm busy doing so many stuff at a time that, doing it regularly at university now won't be possible.
So you're able to manage between your studies and all the activities now?
So far, alhamdulillah.
How was your experience in mass communication?
Mass communication was 4 years of amazing learning, fun, and something, I would love to go back to do again. I did my 3 years bachelor and 1 year's MA in mass communication. In my master's, I had advertising and public relations as my core subject. So it was pretty amazing. We had great teacher. We did advertising campaigns. We learned photography. We did a bit of graphic designing as well, and we managed to do certain events. So it was pretty amazing. And besides that, as a writer, I felt that I, alhamdulillah, got teachers, who helped me in polishing my skills, giving me ideas, and really bringing out my creativity. So yeah, it was a great time I had at mass communication.
Okay. Who made you choose this field, like after your intermediate? Anyone that told you to choose mass communication for higher education? Or any one of your inspiration, like looking to whom you thought that I should go for mass communication?
Basically, I come from a family who always support to be doctors or engineers. My father always wanted me to go for MBA, and my mother always wanted me to go for the medical. So I was the odd one out. But I think it was pretty much, I guess, the writing that I was doing since I was 9 years old. And I was pretty much into reading as well. So this connection with writing and, expressing myself in a way that I feel comfortable really motivated me. I remember that I did my intermediate from pre-medical, and I tried for DMC and SMC, but I couldn't get admission. And then my father said that, okay, so now you're going into BBA. And I got admission in a private university, and I left that university and I said that, no, I would like to go in something that I feel I would like to do. And that was a hard decision, basically.
All right. You mentioned that you have done your intermediate from pre-medical, right?
Yes.
What we usually see nowadays is that the students, if they select pre-medical in intermediate and they could not get admission in the medical college, so they feel like world has come to its end. They completely get disheartened and they cannot pay attention in their further studies wherever they get admission. Did you also think the same thing when you could not get the admission, or it was a bit different, like you already had made your mind that I have still many ways to go?
See, like any general person, since I was aiming to be a doctor, I wouldn't say I was aiming, I was made aim to be a doctor. Considering that, yes, it does feel bad when you try for something and it doesn't happen the way you want it. But on the other hand, I see myself as a very practical person. I am not much of a sensitive, emotional kind of a person who would go into depression and would think that the world has come to an end. I readily take out different solutions for a problem. So for me, it wasn't an issue, alhamdulillah. In that way, I guess my family was pretty much supportive.
And if we move towards the years that you spent in your college, so how was that experience?
I was pretty much into studies, and I wasn't much of a fun person because it's 2 years where you basically focus on getting a good percentage. So I was more into, and since I had pre-medical, so there's tons of practicals and maintaining journals and attending classes. So I was just studying all the time, and I don't really recall it as something really fun.
All right. And what about your school days?
School days, okay, that was an amazing time period that I had. I switched bunch of schools. I used to live in Saudi Arabia at that time. It was a good experience because we weren't among only the Pakistani students. We had people from all over the world.
Sabina, thank you so much once again for being here today. It was lovely to have this chit-chat with you. Listeners, I hope that you people would have enjoyed this chit-chat with Sabina Rizwan. Listeners, I hope that you all would have enjoyed this chit-chat, and with this we will move on to the next segment of today's program, which is an article by Amna Riaz on a topic which is of great importance these days. Because nowadays we see that people's interest is reducing very much from studying and from reading, and hence the importance of libraries is also getting reduced. So today, Amna Riaz, through her article, is going to remind us about the importance of libraries. So let's listen to her.
Assalamu alaikum listeners. This is Amna Riaz, your host for the segment. It's important for people to tell you what side they are on and why, and whether they might be biased. A declaration of members' interest of a sort. So I'm going to be talking to you about reading. I'm going to tell you that libraries are important. I'm going to suggest that reading for pleasure is one of the most important things one can do. I'm going to make an impassioned plea for people to understand what libraries and librarians are and to preserve both of these things. Many predict that the digital age will wipe public bookshelves clean and permanently end the centuries-old era of libraries. As libraries' relevance comes into question, librarians face an existential crisis at a time when students need them the most. Despite their perceived absolence in the digital age, both libraries and librarians are irreplaceable for many reasons. Nearly 10 reasons, in fact, which have been listed for our listeners. Number 1. Not everything is available on the internet. The amazing amount of useful information on the web has, for some, engendered the false assumption everything can be found online. It's simply not true. Google Books recognizes this. That's why they take on the monolith task of digitizing millions of books from the world's largest libraries. But even if Google does successfully digitize the sum of human knowledge, it is unlikely that the sum of contemporary authors and publishers will not allow their work to be freely accessible over the internet. It is already prohibited by law to make copyrighted books fully accessible through Google Book Search. Number 2. Digital libraries are not the internet. A fundamental understanding of what the internet is and isn't can help clearly define the role of a library and why libraries are still extremely important. Online library collections, however, are different. They typically include materials that have been published via rigorous editorial processes and are riddled with quantitative analysis instead of opinion. Types of material include books, journals, documents, newspapers, magazines, and reports which are digitized, stored, and indexed through a limited access database. While one might use the internet or a search engine to find these databases, deeper access to them requires registration. You are still online, but you are no longer on the internet. You are in a library. Number 3. The internet complements libraries but doesn't replace them. The internet is clearly a great resource to finding information, but it is not a replacement for a library. There are clear advantages of libraries over the internet for research. However, the benefits of the internet includes sampling public opinion, gathering quick facts, and pooling a wide range of ideas. Overall, the point is this. Libraries are completely different than the web. In this light, to talk about one replacing the other begins to seem absurd. Number 4. Mobile devices are not the end of libraries or books. Predictions of the end of the book are a predictable response to digitization and other technologies, and the crystal ball of some in the pro-paper crowd seems to also reveal a concomitant crumbling of civilization. One of the latest dark threats to paper is e-books downloadable to mobile devices. But e-books are not all consuming transition for readers. Radio lives on despite TV, film is still in high demand despite video, and people still talk on telephone despite email. People who like paper books will continue to read paper books, even if mobile downloads prompt the majority of publishers to release e-books instead of paper. After all, an immense backlog of printed books will still be accessible to readers. The presence of the digital library will continue to be extremely important role for college students in their research, whether it's paper or electronically based. Number 5. Physical libraries are adapting to cultural change. Anyone subscribing to the theories of 20th century thinker Marshall McLuhan might say that along with changed life patterns brought on by electronic technology, knowledge that was once encased in books and compartmentalized by subject area is now being literally disseminated in an explosion of democracy, rendering obsolete and austerity of the lonely, echoing corridors of the library. Interestingly, McLuhan, who died in 1980, once even said, "The future of the book is the blurb." Indeed, this cultural change predates widespread use of the internet. For decades, society has been seeking a more holistic understanding of the world and increased access to information. The search for new methods of organizing educational structures, including libraries, has long been active. And while libraries might not be on many people's top 10 cutting-edge list, they have been adapting. Washington State University Director of Libraries Virginia Steele, for example, is a proponent of maximizing the social and interactive nature of physical library space. Group study, art exhibitions, food and coffee talking, not whispering. That is the new library. It's not obsolete, it's just changing. Number 6. Librarians are irreplaceable counterparts to web moderators. Individuals who voluntarily devote their time to moderating online forums and wikis are playing a similar role to librarians who oversee the stack and those who visit the stacks, minus the master's degree in library sciences. The chief difference between librarians and moderators is that while the former guide users through a collection of highly authoritative published work, the moderator is responsible for taking the helm of consensus is created. While the roles are distinct, each is evolving along with the fast-paced growth of the internet and the evolving nature of libraries. Both moderators and librarians will have a lot to learn from each other, so it is important that they both stick around. Number 7. Libraries can preserve the book experience. Consuming 900 pages on the intellectual history of Russia is an experience unique to the book. In general, the book provides a focused yet comprehensive study that summarizes years of research by an author or team of authors who have devoted their academic to a particular subject area. But even when the internet does provide actual content, the information is often maximized or the overall experience cursory, a sort of quick reference browsing. Knowledge can be found, but the experience of delving into a book for hundreds of pages just doesn't happen online. The preservation of stacks therefore will help preserve access to this approach to learning, and more traditional form of scholarship can continue alongside the new. Number 8. Libraries are helpful for new archives. Libraries continue to subscribe to and stock a vast list of newspapers, academic journals, and trade publications, and archive the back issues. This effort may seem humble alongside the lengthy lists of online news aggregators and instantaneous access to articles published within a minute. This news cataloging can provide a number of advantages. For starters, many publications continue to exist offline. For someone seeking a specific article by a specific journalist, a library could yield better results even if the publication had to be tracked down through interlibrary loan. Libraries often provide freely accessible issues of major periodicals that would otherwise require online subscription. In addition, archives often disappear offline or become increasingly expensive online. This can leave libraries with the only accessible copies. Society is not ready to abandon the library, and it probably won't ever be. Libraries can adapt to social and technological changes, but they can't be replaced. While libraries are distinct from the internet, librarians are the most suited professionals to guide scholars and citizens towards a better understanding of how to find valuable information online. Indeed, a lot of information is online, but a lot is still on paper. Instead of regarding libraries as obsolete, state and federal governments should increase fundings for improved staffing and technology rather than lope blindly through the digital age. Guided only by the corporate interest of web economics, society should foster a culture of guides and guideposts. Today, more than ever, libraries and librarians are extremely important for the preservation and improvement of our culture. That is all for today.
Alright listeners, I hope that you all would have liked the information that Amna shared with you. Listeners, science has played an important role in changing the world. Scientific inventions have contributed a lot in altering the face of the world. Millions of things have become easier just because of such kind of inventions of science. Today, Muhammad Asad Khan is going to discuss with you one such invention in his segment Glorious Inventions. So let's listen what Asad has for us.
This is Mohammad Azad Khan with one of the most informative segment, Glorious Invention. The scientific development which lead to many inventions in the 20th and 21st century had a great impact on way of working, traveling, teaching and many other aspects of life. Research in the field of physics was the driving force in the development of technology. Scientific development triggered off the Industrial Revolution. This revolution in turn promoted and financially supported the research work to bring out innovative ideas and creation like the internet, television and etc. Out of numerous inventions of the 20th and 21st century, some of the most renowned and great inventions of all time were invented in the era of 1950s. The 1950s saw a number of significant inventions. These greatly improved the quality of human life. Human race is continually trying to invent new things that make life more pleasurable and easy to live. A lot of things man has invented have helped us reduce physical work. Mechanization has greatly improved the standard of living and has freed up a lot of our time to pursue art and improve the quality of leisure. The 50s saw a number of important inventions that substantially changed the lives of present generation. Here is the brief account of the inventions of the 1950s. Optical fibers. Optical fiber was invented in 1956. Lord Hopkins and Narinder Singh Kapne of Imperial College London invented it. It is used in fiber optic communication, which is superior to other form of communication and operates on the principle of total internal reflection. Optical fiber transmitters are capable of sending up to 10 billion bits of information per second. Optical fiber is used for illumination in the medical field. They are used in medical and industrial endoscopes. Sometimes they are used as decoration and also in remote sensing. Video cassette recorder. The video cassette recorder was invented in 1956. Technically, the Vision Electronic Recording Apparatus (VERA), created by the BBC, is the first VCR to be invented. However, the model was introduced by MPEX Overroad, the VERA, and became the most popular VCR to be used. This was obviously unaffordable for the ordinary people, and only television network used it. The primary function of the video recorder is recording and replaying video and audio signals. Hovercraft. Christopher Cockrell invented the hovercraft. The hovercraft moves over water surface floating on a layer of air, which would reduce friction between the vehicles and water. It is an amphibious vehicle. Hovercraft have also been used for military purposes. Hovercraft are still in use in some part of England. Credit card. Diners Club introduced credit card in 1950. Later, American Express issued them in 1958. The credit card is a plastic card that eliminates the need to carry cash. One can use the credit card to withdraw cash from automated teller machine, or one may simply swipe the card to register a particular purchase so that they can pay for it at a later date. Credit cards are used universally in this age. Barcode. Barcode is found on almost all items now. It is a code which is unique for each item. A barcode scanners read the code. Joseph Woodland and Bernard Silver invented it in 1952. It was initially used to identify railroad cars. In 1966, they were brought in commercial use. However, it was only in 80s that barcodes were commercially successful. Black box flight recorder. The first prototype mean for a civilian aircraft was designed by Dr. David Warren of the Defence Science and Technology Organisation's Aeronautical Research Laboratories in Melbourne, Australia. In case of flight accident, the investigator searched for the black box flight recorder first. It could continually store up to 4 hours of speech prior to any aircraft accident, as well as record flight instrument reading. David Warren of Aeronautical Research Laboratories in Melbourne, Australia invented it in 1953. Power steering. One of the best inventions with respect to car, I will say, and people who need to drive every day will agree with me. The first modern power steering was invented by Francis W. Davis in 1926. However, it came into everyday use in the 1950s with Chrysler Corporation Hydra Guide. Musical synthesizer. The electronic music synthesizer manufactured by Radio Corporation of America in 1951 to 52 was much different from synthesizers in use now. The major difference being the fact that the earliest model did not produce sound in real time. It was used more as a composition machine. In 1957, model, however, was largely used by many famous composers. Photovoltaic cell. Though the photovoltaic effect had been realized by Becquerel as early as in 1839, the first practical modern photovoltaic cell did not came into existence well over 100 years. Earliest photovoltaic cells were used only for toys, since the electrical energy they produced cost almost $2.50 a unit. As compared to that, produced using coal only $2 to $3. Now, however, photovoltaic cells are in common use. Teflon coated pan. Dr. Roy Plunkett invented the Teflon material in 1938. It was used in the Manhattan Project and was initially regarded a military secret. Later, however, DuPont Company, whom for Dr. Plunkett worked for, found commercial application for the Teflon in bread and cookie making. Finally, a French couple called T and Marc George brought Teflon to the common man. Tetrasyline. Benjamin was one to originally discover tetrasyline. However, chemical structure of a related compound was illustrated by Professor Robert Woodward of University of Harvard. As far as invention aspect of tetrasyline goes, it is Woodward who patented a fermentation process to manufacture the drug on large scale. That's all from my side.
Alright, Asad, thank you very much. That was a very informative article. Alright, listeners, this was the last segment of today's program, and I hope that you all would have liked it. This brings us to the end of the program, and we will be waiting for your feedback. And in the end, listeners, I request you all to stay happy and spend this new year in a perfect manner, spreading happiness all around and sharing love and just happiness with all the people you are surrounded with. Program, this is your host Mehwish Ashraf signing off. Allah Nikeban.